All right, YouTube, we are live. Woohoo! I am really excited for today because, of course, today I will be speaking with Lawrence Krauss live on the air, and you all get to engage as well. Ask your questions in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We'll have Lawrence for about 45 minutes on today. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited. It's nice to see you all. Um, Yeah, really excited. I'm on early. I just wanted to test the stream out a little bit here, work it in, get your guys' questions rolling. I'm gonna let everyone know we're live and help out the stream by sharing with your friends. Get out there, share, retweet on Twitter. Um, Retweet me. I've tweeted out this stream. I'm at the Pangburn on Twitter, and I'm at the Pangburn essentially everywhere on all platforms. Not on TikTok yet. I don't know if TikTok's ready for my absurdities, but it probably is. I am pumped. Say hello when you get into the chat. We're going to be recording a live podcast today. This will be my first time doing it live like this, so there may be some technical glitches, but whatever. We'll get through it. Okay. I'm going to share this link. Awesomesauce. Post. If you guys are on Facebook, go and share the post, the Pangburn post for this, and let's get as many people in the room today as possible. This isn't scheduled to start until 7, so we got lots of time. Just hitting all my pages right now. Hope the stream sounds good and looks good on your guys' end. I dimmed down the latency a little bit, just to make sure we don't have any lag or anything like that. Aolen says, hello, will this be live with Lawrence? Yes, it will be. Larry Lawrence Krauss will be in the house tonight. Super excited. I got some awesome, what I think to be interesting questions for him. And I've also curated some questions from our audience and fans that we will throw Lawrence's way. I basically want to maximize our time with Lawrence. We have him for about 45 minutes today, so this is going to be a no bullshit, get to the point. But of course, it will be casual because this is Pangburn, and this is about the conversation itself, not about formalities. Okay, that is shared. That is shared. Now, I must share here. If any of you guys listening have platforms of your own, please share the link to this live podcast. It would be much appreciated. How are you all doing? Are you surviving the pandemic? I hope you all are doing well and staying healthy. Yes, post, you bugger. There we go. I'm going to post. Yeah, it was so unfortunate. Cosmic Slice says, nice to see you two doing this since the Toronto events had to be canceled. Yeah, uh, it's just so frustrating, but obviously for pandemic reasons, we had to cancel the Toronto events and the Black Hole Tour, or at least postpone it, postpone the events for now. Um, Shucks. But it is what it is. The live event world is a dangerous territory, and it's highly risky, and a lot of factors need to go right in order for a live event to work out. And obviously, this time we had the pandemic working against us. So, of all the things, but I am glad we got some of you junkies strolling in early. Awesome sauce, love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to be doing this through Google Hangout, and I'm running, just so you guys know, if you guys want to start doing your own podcasts and video streams like this, I'm using OBS as the software, and then I have just a couple different scenes set up, and eventually when Lawrence is around, I'm going to bring his image in. We actually haven't tested with him talking today or anything, so we'll get things set up and then get to it right away once we're all ready to go. But I've been so lucky. Like, I've had Richard Dawkins on my podcast. I've had Brian Greene, Jordan Peterson, so many awesome guests. And if you guys aren't familiar with my podcast, I haven't done any in a while, so you may not be familiar, but on the channel here, youtube.com/Pangburn, you can listen to all the podcasts, and all the podcasts are in audio form except for one, I believe. But I'm interested in doing these live now with audience participation, because there are a lot of podcasts out there that don't do that. So I thought I'd bring something a little bit different. So we'll try it and see how it goes. But any opportunity to speak with someone who's done so much for science communication to the public, like Lawrence, is just a huge privilege. All right, I'm going to tweet out. I wonder if I should do a Twitter video quickly. Maybe. Through Periscope. Why is that doing that? Weird. Oh, okay. I need to turn that around. And I want to go to Twitter with that. Perfect. At Lawrence. Is that even going to tag him? Krauss will. Oh, and I also have my Lawrence Krauss spectacles for today. They don't have real lenses, so they're essentially just. I was gonna wear them, and I was like, I need to pop these lenses out if I was gonna wear those. Roughly an hour. All right, so this should be able to go live with this now. Okay, I don't want to see that. Okay, there we go. What up, Twitter? How's everyone doing? All right, I am live now. We are live at Pangburn, youtube.com/Pangburn. And today is a very special live stream because we are live streaming my 44th episode for the Pangburn podcast. And the guest today, he's kind of a big deal. He is Lawrence Krauss, one of my favorite science communicators of all time I'll get to speak with on the podcast. I've been so lucky with this podcast to have the most amazing guests. Richard Dawkins, Brian Greene, Jordan Peterson. I've had some amazing guests on the podcast. If you're not familiar with my podcast, go to youtube.com/Pangburn, and you can find all the podcasts I've ever recorded there. And yeah, there's some great ones. It's hard for me to remember all the names. I did one with Matt Dillahunty, of course, too. He's a good buddy of mine, and a few other people. But yeah, today's conversation is going to be awesome. I've come up with what I think are some unique and interesting questions for Larry. I've tried to come up with a few that he's probably never been asked before. So we'll see what happens with those. And potentially a question that him and I may disagree on. So there may be some disagreement on one aspect of the combination of scientists and politics. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Join us at youtube.com/Pangburn, and I hope to see you guys there. Woohoo! Now, how do I stop on this? Okay, there we go. All right, cool. So, and then for those of you who don't know, if you don't have I think it's if you don't have an iPhone, you can still live stream to Twitter if you use Periscope, or if you have certain. I have an older Samsung phone. I really need to get a new phone, but I have to use Periscope, which is an app, to be able to live stream to Twitter. So I got my Krauss notes in front of me. Awesome. That's another thing. I wanna know, like, how small can we go with our discovery? Like, is quarks the limit, or can we go beyond quarks? Um, quarks to as far as how small. What are the smallest things we may discover that haven't been discovered yet? Can we go smaller? That's something I think about when I'm laying in bed at night. Good evening to all of you in the room. Thank you for engaging in the chat already. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Would love to have you. Do live streams like this all the time, having interesting conversations. Sometimes I will come on just randomly, and if you happen to be online, we'll have conversations. And sometimes we will schedule things like watch parties where we'll watch debates that I've produced, and we'll discuss them and analyze them. If you guys aren't following Larry Lawrence Krauss on Twitter, follow him at capital L, capital K, Rouse 1. You can see it in the video there below Lawrence's beautiful beard. But you can follow Lawrence there. You can follow me at the Pangburn, and also follow Lawrence on Facebook. I think his friends might be maxed out, but he's got a fan page as well. But like I said, really listen and watch Lawrence's material. Especially, I must say, his new hashtag 5-minute physics videos on YouTube. At the very top of this chat, I've put Lawrence's link to his new channel. You guys have to go over and subscribe to this. If you have a general understanding of mathematics related to physics, and you want to get better in these topics, you want to increase your knowledge, these are great places. Not even necessarily to start. Like, you got to have some fundamental understandings and knowledge that you bring to the table to understand what Lawrence is talking about. But it's easy to just stop the video and go and Google and do a little bit of research as you're going through. Like, I think it's important. Naturalism and philosophy. Ted, welcome back. It's been a long time. Says, do you smoke pot, Trav? About 2 times per week. I have like one little puff because I'm really weak when it comes to marijuana. Like, the smallest little puff like lasts for a long time with me. So I do a bit, and the reason why I do it, it was actually prescribed by my doctor for severe tension headaches that I get ever since I had a really bad concussion about 5 years ago. So yeah, occasionally I do smoke pot, and I shouldn't smoke it. I really should do the edible thing. But sometimes for me, like, edibles go way too far. It's hard to find that balance. Okay, awesome. This is going to be a lot of fun. We got about a half hour until we're going to get started with Larry here. Um, yeah, and I'll remind everyone once we start when we get closer to starting to check out Larry's new channel, 5 Minute Physics series. Seriously, check it out. I put in the link at the top of this chat. Um, yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I did have a six dates booked in Canada for the Lawrence Krauss Black Hole Tour, but obviously it had to be postponed because of this pandemic. Jimmy says, just please don't get him started on politics. It's truly painful. You know what? I really want thinkers, great skeptics, and people who hold a scientific worldview like Larry to be speaking out about politics more. I want to know what people like Lawrence are thinking about politics and about social issues. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing, and it's something I'm going to bring up in one of my questions to Lawrence today. And I really truly do want to get his take on this. And I know Lawrence and I have talked because we've worked with each other. And if you guys want to watch some of the events that I've produced, or all of the events actually that I've produced with Lawrence speaking at them, you can find them on the YouTube channel here. Um, but yeah, I really want to get Lawrence's take on this. I want the greatest minds of society to be in positions of power, making decisions, skeptic based, you know, critically thought out decisions as opposed to off the cuff, what's going to be best for my, you know, ratings amongst voters and things like that. I don't think skeptics have the ability to overcome their skepticism once they have the solid foundation there. It just doesn't. It just can't happen. It goes against their literally their grounded foundation of who they are. So, Michael, the Canadian atheist, says, "Is there a Toronto date to be rescheduled?" Yeah, we're gonna work on that. We just my thing from a producer standpoint when it comes to live events. Sure, they might say, okay, in November we're gonna start allowing live events in theaters again or in auditoriums, but like how many people are going to jump at that opportunity? Like how long is the deterrent of this virus going to be around where it's going to be damn near impossible to get people out to a live event, right? So it's something that has to be taken into consideration. But of course, as soon as it seems possible again, I I want to get these events out there, and because I think they're so important. Science is so inspiring to communities and to the general community of humanity. And that's why the half of the Pangburn equation is uh, being scientifically inspired, and that is missing a lot in people's lives. And and same on the other side, the artistically inspired side, people get their strong doses of it, but they forget the practical version of it. They forget they need to be practicing in it. You need to be practice just like on the science side. On the science side, you need to be practicing discovery, practicing experimentation, and all of these scientific worldview traits. Um, and today this conversation is purely with Larry. We want to get into scientific topics. I want to be get into cosmological topics. That's what I want to be getting into. That's what I I think everyone around the world right now needs inspiration, and I think so much inspiration is derived from delving into some of the more interesting unknown areas that it seems like only a small group of people around the world truly understand this stuff, and giving people like Lawrence opportunities to explain it. And then hopefully my job is to kind of dissect the way Lawrence is explaining it, and being the person speaking for the audience member to say, oh, okay, that I think you went over something there because it's probably common knowledge to you, but not to the listener. So, um, Michael, the Canadian atheist, says at Pangburn, might it be at Sony Center or Danforth Music Hall again, or a more intimate setting? Um, I'm. I think for future events, I am going to err on the side of intimate settings, and then bring in a live stream element to the event. I really think that's the future, like having a literal live stream interactive element to each live event, and then the audience there is kind of like the studio audience, but they get the live experience. Um, at least for events of this size, when it's kind of a lecture tour, pure science lecture tour. Obviously, when you get into the larger scale events, like what I did with Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, um, if someone has written a best-selling book like Jordan had, and Sam had not really that long ago, you bring those two together, then you can fill massive, massive halls. So it all depends on what's happening in the intellectual zeitgeist in that time. So yeah, and if we have time, TK Englander, I see your question about COVID-19. I'll put it on the list here. We could maybe talk a little bit about the virus, but I really do want to focus on, um, we'll probably avoid the virus, to be honest. It's just there's so much content out there that people can listen to, people's points of view on it, and make their comments. And Larry's perspective, the scientific worldview perspective on this, is out there, and people can take a look. It's like follow the recommendations that are coming from uh, the CDC and World Health Organization, but having a conversation. One thing I've been focusing on in my conversations around the virus is about not discounting the role that panic and the swelling of depression can play in society. Um, Damn, I'll tell you, I've spoken to a lot of people. I opened up on my Facebook. All I said was, my inbox is always open for anyone that's really struggling through depression at this time, or struggling with mental health. I woke up in the morning and I had 64, counted them, 64 people, and I would say probably 10 of them were people that were experiencing suicidal thoughts and stuff, and a lot of it was directly related to what's going on in the world, and that's just like the feels like the final straw to them. And of course I don't give medical advice because I'm not a medical practitioner, but I just lent my ear to them, and obviously my goal is to get them to seek doctoral care, right? That's always my goal, in instances like that. But holy wow, did I ever learn a lot of how little resources there are in some countries to some people. Some of the fans, or some of my fans, like messaged me, and I was like, well, you got to like ignorantly. I said to some of them, I think the best thing is to follow up with your GP, your general practitioner, your family doctor. And it's like some of them are like, what the hell is that? It's like in my country, they're like, if if I feel sick, it and I go to, my only option is to go to the hospital. So they're like, if I go to the hospital and I say, oh, my tummy hurts, or this hurts, or I'm feeling depressed, it's like they literally just like laugh and kick you out the door, because there's just such a lack of resources. They're dealing with trauma ER situations, and those are too many. And it's just, yeah, it really did open my eyes to do not underestimate what, overreacting, which some intellectuals that, I really respect, talking on social media and stuff saying it's best for us to overreact right now and just overreact as much as we can and over prepare and overspread this like make sure everyone knows exactly how many are dying in the instant, and and even in some cases like hearing some people who are working in hospitals saying like I guess coroners saying when it comes to cause of death, err on the side of COVID-19, even if we don't know, like things like that. It's like we we can't be engaging in fear mongering or any kind of unnecessary or driving any kind of unnecessary panic during this thing, because the swelling of panic and depression and mental health issues during something like this is a real thing to be cautious with, I think. Yeah, Cosmic Slice said it great. Please. Oh, I think Keith Connolly is in the room. Keith is one of our moderators on this channel. Keith, thanks so much for being here. Everyone say hi to Keith. Awesome, awesome. Native Atheist says, here's Johnny. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Native Atheist. Welcome, Stuart Scott, A. Owens, Sean F., TK Englander, of course. We've already heard from. And again, Ted's back in the room. Skeptic77. Okay, and we have a question from Skeptic77. This is awesome, guys. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these. I feel like it feels like conquering the world when I'm so lucky to be able to chat with people like Krauss and Dawkins and the more eccentric types like the Jordan Petersons and God Saad I've had on here. So yeah, looking forward to this. We got 50 of you guys in the room right now. Make sure you hit the like button. We're up to 90 likes on this stream. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thinking Sapien, welcome back. And the channel's growing, guys. If you feel obliged, please, please, please subscribe. All right, we got our first super chat, guys. The super chat function, throwing a little money towards the stream, really helps the channel out. I really appreciate it. It's from Michael, the Canadian Atheist. $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Says, question for LK: what are your thoughts on Sean Carroll and an infinite universe? Great question. Great question. And I'm going to highlight that because it was a super chat. We'll make sure we get that one to... Ooh, I can't even bold in my little note-taking program. This thing is so archaic. It's like Windows Notes or something. I'm going to put some stars beside that one. Okay, you get stars. 5 stars for $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Kevin Chaos, welcome, welcome, welcome to the chat. I'm looking forward to this, guys. I've been giddy. We're up to 100 likes, guys. Keep those likes coming on the video, on the live stream, rather. Larry will be joining us in about 20 minutes. Rock and roll. Make sure you invite your friends, your family. High Karate says God reveals himself in reality and in scripture. Okay, revealing yourself in scripture is that's not really a big deal. I mean, that's Santa Claus, right? And you say God reveals himself in reality. Where exactly, High Karate? Where does God and which God are you talking about? Uh, Naturalism and Philosophy, Ted. You say you have to get an app to make words bold. It's $2. Well, considering I just got a $5 super chat for the channel, I'm going to invest, a small percentage of that into a new note-taking program. High Karate says Santa is not a historical person. What does that have anything to do with your argument? That doesn't matter. You're going down argument from authority zone. Ryan Couture with the $10 super chat, and it's 10 American dollars. That's like $14 million Canadian. Thank you so much for the super chat. Super chat says, does Jordan Peterson base his transgender understanding on his feelings or updated evidence from the DSM? Canada is wrong for banning any speech, but Jordan is wrong on the science. So what specifically? I'm happy to go down that road with you, Ryan. We still have time. When you say, does Jordan Peterson base his transgender understanding on his feelings or updated evidence? What particular part of his understanding? Let's get at the specifics of what Jordan said. Happy to discuss that. And thank you so much for the super chat, $10 super chat. Thank you. John Silver says, thank you for hosting this. Please discuss the whole corona pandemic and lockdown with LK. I really don't want to go there, to be honest. I want to keep it to, the pure science area that Larry is such a breadth of wisdom and knowledge in. I want to keep him in that area, honestly, for this discussion. We may, in fact, stumble onto it, and it may be inevitable. Well, determinism tells us that it just is either already going to happen or not. So there's nothing I can do about it. Very cool, guys. We got about 15 minutes till we're going to get started. Thank you for stopping by today. This is awesome. So we'll see if Ryan follows up. And just in case if I'm missing any of your comments, guys, just type at Pangburn beforehand. At Pangburn. Tag Pangburn. There we go. Just like that. It will make sure I don't miss it. But this is cool. This is going to be there's going to be a little tech involved when we get Larry on, and we'll do a bit of testing and stuff. Just because I want to make sure you guys are hearing everything well. Alrighty. I'm just checking the notifications here one last time, and then I will get off the social media realm for a little bit. Okay, cool. Cool. We are live now. If you guys have Instagram, I've just started on Instagram, so I am at the Pangburn on Instagram as well, all small letters. So come and follow me. You'll probably get to know me on Instagram way better than you've ever wanted to get to know me. But you'll see I'm quite an absurd individual. Patrick Uh, Pat Ratcan says, at Pangburn, I recently landed on your channel. I remember you from conversations, the likes of LK, Sam Harris, etc. What is the goal of this channel? The goal of this channel is to promote intellectual discourse, the power of having conversation, good faith conversation. That is the important part. Because there are too many platforms and people out there just fighting for political agendas and things like that when they claim to be, well, we're all about having a conversation here. And it's like, well, there's having a conversation, and then there's having good faith discourse. And that's what this channel's all about. Good faith meaning that you don't come to a conversation with the goal to win a debate. You come to the conversation to exchange ideas, go back and forth, figure out where you're engaging in fallacy land. Figure out where you yourself are fallacious in the things you believe, and that's what having a scientific worldview is all about. Is trying to figure out where you're wrong or where you could be wrong, and skepticism as well. Bal Diablo says, "You think that's air you're breathing now?" I almost heard that in Lawrence Fishburne's voice. UK Strings, welcome to the chat. Prince Vegeta, welcome to the chat. Welcome. Bal Diablo is back. This is awesome. What else do I have coming up? Who else do you guys want to? Who else should I have on? Number 45. Who should be number 45? What guest do you want me to bring on? Again, I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone, but yeah. Pete Robinson says, when is LK joining you? In about 10 minutes, but you know how casual we are here. Sometime in the next 10 minutes. Yes, Prince Vegeta. Dragon Ball Z, baby. Hells to the yizzle. I'm going to bring on the Donald for podcast number 45. It'll be tremendous. And maybe Ivanka. Ivanka, have you seen her body? Have you seen it? Yeah, I can. I'll tweet at number 45 and see if he wants to come on. Actually, if I do it through Dinesh, maybe I'll talk to Dinesh. Maybe Dinesh will come on. I've had Dinesh on the podcast already before. Yeah, and that's another interesting podcast you guys should listen to. The conversation I had with Dinesh was a lot of fun. The Donald. God, some of the stuff people have been saying, like they hope Donald Trump catches COVID-19. Like, I'm sorry, but your moral compass is bankrupt if you're saying shit like that. Like, I know it's coming from a place of pure emotion, and they probably don't really mean that, but it's people. It's buffoonish. That's chimp. That's chimp think. Yeah. Oh no. I just got a red mark on the stream. I hope it didn't go away. Oh no, it looks like it's fine. Andrew T. Welcome. There was just a big spike in viewership or something. David Berlinski. I'm not sure who that is, but David Silverman. A. Owen says David Silverman. Andrew T says, can you ask Lawrence who would win in a rap battle between him and Neil deGrasse Tyson? I feel like Lawrence has some bars. Lawrence is musical. I don't know if Neil deGrasse Tyson's musically inclined, but I know Larry sings a bit. Um, Ayaan Hirsi Ali would be a great guest. Uh, who else? Yeah, just drop your guys' favorites. It can be people that aren't very well known yet too. Like I love helping to give someone a boost as well. Jan Golan says, "Life is a sexually." We got to say it in Carl Sagan's voice. Life is a sexually transmitted disease with 100% death rate. Life is a sexually transmitted disease with 100% death rate. Maybe sexually caused is better. Mm. Oh my God, guys, should it be Jesse Lee Peterson? A. Owens just said Jesse Lee Peterson, and I'm not even joking. I really do want to have him on. I find him to be one of probably the funniest man on the internet, but he's not trying to be funny. I mean, sometimes he is, but just his character in general, just the way religion can poison your mind to the maximum. It's just he is the living embodiment of that. Um, Beta. Thinking Sapien says at Pangburn, I will be a guest. Sign up. Send me an email. But yeah, this is awesome. We're getting closer, guys. I'm like, it's just another notch on my belt, guys. I'm really so excited with who I've gotten to converse with on this channel and through my work. Oh, my book is coming along. I've been really delving into my book and learning new things and crossing out old things. Um, and it's been quite the experience. How much I've reworked bits and some new discoveries I'm making about the pleasure drive principle and about the Pangburn equation in general. Um, but it's been a lot of fun. I suggest you guys write your ideas down, and even if you don't ever plan on publishing it, or even if you just self-publish it, um, write your ideas down, share them with people, engage in conversations. It's a good thing to do, and it's very fulfilling to me. Um, Ryan Couture with the $5 super chat. You rock, you rock, you rock. Thank you so much. And that's $5 American, which is about 5 trillion Canadian dollars. Ryan says, please read my. Oh, yes, yes, right. You say, Ryan says, oh, yeah, this was a follow up. He says, Jordan Peterson says that gender identity can't be changed, such as age or another attribute, but that is because there is no finding of age dysphoria. Only gender that can scientific examine. It is likened to ODY integrity disorder, where paraplegics have phantom pain where a limb used to be. Yeah, this is a big topic we're getting into, and there's definitely a lot to be said about it. We're about to start in 5 minutes, but I read your comment. I wanted to make sure I got it out there. I know the type of stuff that you're getting at, and my thing is on that is Jordan is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anything related to clinical psychology. He understands the literature. He makes strong claims from the scientific literature. Sometimes concluding what something must mean, and it must mean this, and this is the way things ought to be. So then he throws in some philosophy in there as well. And But if he is in fact saying something unscientific, of course you must challenge that, right? Just like if any ideologue or any thinker is saying something unscientific or unsubstantiated from a logic perspective. At Pangburn, you keep devaluing the currency of our beloved Canuck land. Is it going down? Are you watching? Are you watching it just go like this as I'm saying this? That's awesome. I'm gonna see if Larry's emailed me just in case he's having trouble getting in. He still has time. He still has time. We still have time. All scientific topics are on the table, guys. We got more in the room. Make sure you like this stream. It's up to 107 likes. Love it, you guys. Love you all. And we got a nice audience in here tonight. I love it. This is a live podcast, guys. This is the first I'm trying with the live podcast. Not pre-recorded. Right when I said live, I got nervous and Ryan Couture says, "Are we going to have call-in?" We're not going to do call-in. Maybe it's something I will introduce at some point when we do more long-form versions of these. Like I'd like to start doing these like long-form, like the Joe Rogan type conversations. I think I could handle those. Not all guests can handle those long form conversations, and I'm not saying Larry can't, but this wasn't very planned. I basically was like to Larry, "Hey, you want to come on podcast on Wednesday?" And this is like right in the middle of his dinner time, so he's taking time out for us. So it's awesome. It's awesome for Larry to be coming on. Andrew T. Quickly. Andrew T. is one of our moderators as well, guys. Everyone say hi to Andrew and cheer and all that jazz. It says, "What does Lawrence think about the role of philosophy? I find too many scientists and science communicators are downplaying its importance." I think Larry, as far as I can remember, when I talked to him about it, and it's something we might get into. We might add that question, Andrew. Um, he said that philosophy is a huge part of science. Like the thinking about what ought to be is a big part of scientific worldview and thinking like a scientist. What ought to be is is part of thinking about what scientific pursuits you ought to pursue. Right? It's a big part of it. Rock and roll. Oh, I said I was going to close my social media and I still have it open. I was just making sure no one's asking any questions or needing anything before I close. Okay, there. I'll check Twitter one more time. I'm never on Twitter anymore, honestly. I find it to be not a very good platform for like good faith discourse. Like, it's a lot of it's bad faith or people just trying to like smear others and things like that. But that's why I started thewarofideas.org. If you go to thewarofideas.org, there is a battlefield there. It's a platform I've set up that's in beta testing. Hasn't We haven't done any marketing or anything for it, but yeah, check it out. I'll put it in the chat here. Thewarofideas.org. Cool, cool. Okay, that's good. Awesome. Just making sure we're all up and running well here. Yeah, we're looking good. Bal Diablo says at Pangburn, ooh, get Gavin McGinnis. Yeah, I would love having a conversation with Gavin. I think he's got a really good sense of humor.
Sense of humor.
All right.
All right.
I got
I
Larry
got Larry
here.
here.
I'm just gonna see if I
Who do you
can.
have? No, you don't have Larry here. You don't have Larry here. You have, you have Lawrence here.
Just give me
Just
one
give me
second. I'm
one
gonna try
second.
and.
I'm gonna try.
Hey
Hey
Lawrence,
Lawrence,
are you able
are
to
you able to
put
put
Headphones on?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, that
great.
would be great.
Okay, well, you can talk. I'll get some headphones.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I haven't
I haven't
unveiled you to the
unveiled you
world
to the
yet.
world yet.
Oh, okay. I just finished, I just, spur of the moment, recorded another 5-minute physics video, which I just posted 30 seconds ago. So I was desperately trying to get that done before I got on this thing. So it just got posted a minute.
Cool, cool. Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Actually putting it on Facebook, but I don't have a chance. Okay, let's try this. Okay, talk to me.
Oh, that's great.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's way better, way better. I'm hearing a little bit still, but I don't know where that's coming from.
It could be from you.
Maybe it is. I'm just gonna turn on the video here, and you're looking great. I'm just gonna center you a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, we're live. Say hello to Lawrence.
Hello, whoever's there. If there's anybody there, I don't know if there's anybody there.
Yeah, we got 70 people in the room right now, so
Okay.
which is great for Wednesday. So how are you?
I'm fine. As I was just, I'm doing well. It's nice here in Oregon, and I just did something I hadn't planned to do. As I was just telling you a minute ago, I had finished with my 5-minute videos that I created during the pandemic for people in the month of April, and I someone asked me to if I could explain the first 5 minutes in the history of the universe in 5 minutes. Um, so I thought, well, I try. So it took me 10 minutes, but I just posted it like 30 seconds ago on YouTube. And so anyway, and then I rushed to do this. So I'm feeling I'm feeling psyched because I just finished doing that and managed to
Awesome.
get it done
Well,
in 10 minutes.
well, that's great. I've given everyone the link to your new channel, which I think everyone needs to check out. Guys, at the top of this chat, you will find the link to Lawrence's new 5-minute physics channel, and I've been really enjoying it.
Oh, good.
Blowing my mind. I think it's
Well,
one of
this
the
one.
better informative new science channels out there, so I think people really need to check it out. So we've been loving the 5-minute physics. We promoted that. So Lawrence, I got to ask you this: it's 2020, and astrology is still viral. Nonsense is still rampant. Why?
Because people want to believe. It's Fox Mulder all over again. People want to believe, and it's a lot more. And they want to believe there's something out there that they can't see, which is true. But the stuff that's out there is actually much more interesting than astrology or religion. And I think but I still think people like to think somehow there's some purpose. We're hardwired to want to believe that there's some purpose for our existence, and also hucksters and con artists do their work very well. There's a lot of money to be made in both, and we have in the U.S. there's a huckster and a con artist who managed to make it all the way to the presidency. So anyway.
Actually, since you just brought that up, this is something we've talked about before. To me, I think the perfect president would have been Carl Sagan. Do you agree or disagree?
Nah, look, I don't think. No, I don't agree. I don't think necessarily a scientist would be a great president. I don't know what. I suspect Carl Sagan would have not been a great manager or administrator. I don't know. Because he would have been anyway. I don't want to talk about Carl Sagan. The point is that scientists should be advising government and should be advising the people. Should be explaining what we know so that people can have a perspective on which they can make judgments about the world around them and who to vote for, and public policy should be based on empirical evidence. So a good president is someone who need not be a scientist, but someone who will choose good scientists to provide advice and carefully listen, learn, and try and understand what the scientific issues are, and not necessarily base their decisions just on science, because there's a lot of other factors that politicians have to worry about, from economics to other things. But so that's one of the reasons why when Barack Obama was running for president, I became a member of his science policy team during that time, because I was incredibly impressed that he had something like 40 policy groups, each made up of really good people. And on the science policy team, there were really good people. And I thought, well, here's a guy who can take advice and knows enough to know to seek out, in principle, the best people to give it. And I think that's one of the factors that would make a president a good president.
Right.
The other one, you're right about Carl Sagan. The other thing a president can be is a teacher, is someone who can reach out and help lead the country by explaining things. And that of course Carl Sagan would have been good at. So a good teacher. I mean, I think Bill Clinton was good in that sense too. To some
Right.
extent, Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about presidents.
Okay, let's how about this? Let's go to the pre-Big Bang state.
Oh, the Big Bang
What
state?
the pre-Big Bang state? What do you call
Oh,
it?
unknown.
How
We don't
about
know what happened before the Big Bang.
well, how about a state of potential?
Uh, if that floats your boat, that's fine with me. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't even know if there was potential. Yeah, there's always potential, I suppose. It's just, but it wasn't. If there were such a state, and if time existed, and it may not have existed before the Big Bang, then, but if time existed, it might not have been clear there was any potential for anything. But I
Right.
suspect that maybe time came into existence with the Big Bang, in which case, talking about a pre-Big Bang state is missing the whole point, because there was no pre.
Right, but even if there is no time, can we
Mhm.
not just explain it as a state of potential? Because if there wasn't even a state of potential, nothing could come out of it, right?
I don't know why you're beginning to talk like someone who says there must have been a cause.
No,
And
not necessarily a cause, just a state in which something it was possible for something to occur, like a state of quantum fluctuations, right?
well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, the point is that quantum fluctuations, if we're right, created our universe, and yeah, and there's still that state of potential. I mean, quantum fluctuations can be creating universes now, so
Right,
nothing's changed. But I guess, but on the other hand, it's also possible that that the laws of physics emerged at the time of our Big Bang, of what is our creation of our universe. In which case, it's not clear you could even, anyway. It's all semantics at this point, because we're
sure,
talking first about a system we don't understand, and secondly about physics we don't understand. We probably don't have the right language to describe it.
right.
So I'm fine with the state of potential. I don't want to have an argument about how to describe something that I don't understand.
Yeah, well,
So it's
the reason why I think it's important because I just hate the term nothing because I think saying you know this the pre Big Bang state was nothing. I think it confuses people to mean that it's literally nothing and not like
Well, I think it was. It depends. What do you mean by literally nothing? I
I
mean, I
know
wrote a whole
it's
book
tough.
on it. Well, I mean, the point is, I like it because it gets people thinking about what nothing
Hmm.
is, and also I like it because it upsets some people, but uh, particularly
Yeah.
theologians and philosophers, but who are fun to upset. But
Yes.
but I think it's important to think about what we mean by nothing. For me, that was one of the reasons I called the book that, because the distinction between nothing and something has changed so much that that um, that's what's really neat, is that we've changed our ideas about what nothing is. So I think it's, anyway, I don't care what you call it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just nothing that we can see was there. Nothing, our space, our time, the particles did not exist,
Right.
and then they came into existence. If you want to call it Boston, it's fine with me, or but it's fine, whatever.
Pick a different city.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
um,
I lived in Boston, so
yeah.
what I was going to say. I was going to pick somewhere in Montana, but
Yeah.
then I'd get angry
Maybe
emails.
that's
Anyway,
worse.
yeah,
The
Saskatoon. Let's
Yeah, there
call
we
it
go. Let's
Saskatoon.
do that.
Okay, make it Canadian.
So the mystery of dark energy. Why is it important to solve? Why should we give a damn?
Because, well, I mean, because it'll determine the future of the universe.
Hmm.
Because it's probably related to what is the physics responsible for the creation of our universe, and because it's the dominant stuff on our universe. But it's not going to make a better toaster. It's not going to cure the pandemic. It's not going to change anything in your daily lives except give you a different perspective of how you fit in to understand where we came from and where we're going. So there's no reason to understand it unless you care about those kind of questions. And the other reason it's worth understanding is it's so crazy. Why
Yeah.
should empty space have energy? It's fascinating to think about, but it's not something that ordinary people need to spend a lot of time every day worrying about. I, would get paid to worry about it,
Right.
and that's fine. I'm lucky that I get to think about those things.
I think
But
yeah.
go on.
It's kind
Sorry.
of it's kind of like, there's mainstream musical theater which gets all the huge audiences, and then there's the absurdist Samuel Beckett theater play going on down that only a few people can stomach and go to. But it's still interesting.
Well, I think yeah, I wouldn't I would. I think I'd flip it around. I think the everyday lives that we live are much closer to the absurd of Samuel Beckett, and
Yeah.
the profoundly beautiful is the energy of empty space. So I think most people get hung up on the daily absurdity because it's relevant, but I think it raises us up beyond. We are human because we can raise ourselves up beyond the moment, what's happening in the moment, and ask these fundamental questions, or create art, or music, or literature. And so um, I don't think it's. I think not asking. Look, first of all, everyone has asked those questions at some point in their life, whether or not they, some of them want to stop thinking about it and they become religious. But I think it's just a fundamental part of being human to wonder how we got here, where we're going, are we alone, and all those questions. So,
Right.
but anyway,
So you've said that 70% of the energy in the universe resides in empty space, which is
between 70 and 75,
an
yeah.
amazing fact.
Yeah,
uh,
especially since there's nothing there.
yeah. and and
Speaking
and
of
we
nothing.
have no understanding as to why. Why do we have no understanding to why? And I guess what I mean is, what are we looking for to get a better answer then?
Well, the point is that none of our existing theoretical framework in physics predicts such a possibility, or explains why that would be there. Now, look, quantum mechanics and gravity say that empty space can have energy. In fact, generically it should. Einstein proposed it, and then he tried to get rid of it, but we now realize that he didn't quite understand what he was doing, and generically, empty space can have energy in quantum mechanics. But if you try and using any of the ideas we have in science now, if you try and estimate what you think it should be, you come up with a number which is vastly different to what we see. Either zero or a number that's 120 orders of magnitude larger. And it's the least understood number, if you wish,
Yeah, and
in
if
all of
people
physics.
don't understand what that means, that's 120,000 zeros following.
It's 120 zeros, not
Or sorry,
120,000.
120 zeros. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's 120
Yeah,
zeros, and that's a big number. It's a big
yeah,
number. It's too big a number to imagine, but
yeah.
it's just darn big.
Orders of magnitude.
As
That's the measurement I use to measure, whatever. Um,
well, I like to think of it as what's his name wrote the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
right.
which begins, if you think the universe is really big, if you think it's much bigger than just going to the local pharmacy, and anyway, he said it much better than I. But
Okay.
anyway.
Now I have a question for you, and I call this kind of a visualizing physics question. if we could shrink ourselves down to the size of a single quantum fluctuation, what would that fluctuation look like if we could actually look around and observe them?
Well, I mean, there aren't such. It's not as there are quantum fluctuations happening on all different scales, um, and so it's not as if you're asking. I mean, if you're asking where's the characteristic scale size where quantum fluctuations are significant,
Sure.
where they're uh, governing the sort of fundamental physics, it's a scale associated with well, it depends on the phenomena in particular, but certainly we know on atomic scales the energy spacing in atoms is and the overall action energy associated with atoms is comparable to the energies in action associated with what's called the Planck's constant. And so on atomic scales, quantum phenomena are incredibly important. You can't understand atoms without understanding quantum mechanics. In fact, quantum mechanics was developed to answer questions about how atoms can be stable.
Right.
But you wouldn't. But
I guess if an
but
artist
the
was to
world. I mean,
paint a picture of a quantum, like if they were tasked to paint a picture of a quantum fluctuation, is
actually, well, there's a good bit. Well, there's a good image in one of my books. It's a static image, and then there's an animated image you can look for online of an animation of what the space inside of a proton looks like,
right.
and it looks like a lava lamp, with fields popping in and out of existence and and
Right.
so look up an image for the space inside of a proton. It's an actual mathematical calculation turned into an animation,
Very
but
cool.
it's just but it's turbulent and things are also popping in into existence and it's not like anything that we see on the scales that you and I exist on.
Right. And now, is there, and this might be are we probably going to get to a point where we can predict where each quantum fluctuation would happen?
No, the whole point of quantum mechanics is it's probabilistic.
Right.
So the observations are the fundamental theory is not probabilistic, which some people don't realize. Quantum mechanics is a deterministic theory, but all we can say is what's the probability that something will happen at this point in space at this point in time, and we can say with exactness what the probability is, but but we can't say that something's going to happen. And just like we know that a neutron will live on average 10 minutes,
Right.
but but we can't say when any given neutron is going to decay.
Right.
We think, for example, our current theories tell us that maybe protons, which are the seemingly stable basic constituents of matter, that they may be unstable with a lifetime of 10 to 35 years or something like that. Now that's incredibly long compared to the age of the universe. But
Right.
but if you have 10 to the 35 protons in a room, which is you can't fit in a room, but if you had them in a tank like the Super Cameo Canada tank in a mine in Japan, if they're unstable, one of them is going to decay each year. You don't know which one, but one of them is going to do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
So
statistics and
probabilistic.
probability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So quarks are the smallest particles we have come across in our investigations, right? Is that true?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
Um,
Uh,
um, I mean, uh, as far as we can tell, there are two sets of particles that have no substructure. That's only as far as we can tell. Quarks are one set, and then the other particles are called leptons, an example of which is the electron. Electron, and it has a partner called a muon, another partner called a tauon, and neutrinos are also leptons. But those particles, as far as we can tell, are not made up of, don't have any extent, are not made up of any other particles. They could easily be made up of, unlike protons and neutrons, of course, that are made of quarks.
right.
So the fundamental building blocks in nature are quarks and these particles called leptons, which are electrons and things like that.
Right. Now, what are those things made of?
Well, we don't know. I mean, if there may be a more fundamental theory in which they're all made of some fundamental constituent that makes them all up, or not,
Right.
We have no idea. And in in our theories of right now, even our theories of grand unification, those particles are still kind of fundamental. There may be other fundamental particles that we don't know of that exist, but no one's come up with a good theory. I think someone had a preon theory, which is preons, with quarks are made of something else. People have had ideas, but
Right.
nothing sensible has come of them. And so, as far as we know, quarks and leptons are fundamental. Now, the string theorists would argue that at a very, very small scale, quarks themselves are really excitations of some other more fundamental object, and the particles in nature are all different kinds of excitations of that object, which they used to call strings. Now they don't call that, but that's all hypothetical. And right now, as far as we know, quarks and leptons are fundamental.
Interesting. So, and I mean, in theory, or I guess as a hypothesis, you could maybe propose that the further the more you discover as you go down in scale, like are you ever going to reach an end?
Um, uh, we don't know,
Yeah.
and maybe not. It could be like Feynman said. Universe could be like an onion, and we keep peeling back layers, and there are an infinite number of layers. And all he wanted to know, and all I want to know, is a little bit more than I knew before. And
Right.
so some people think there may be a theory of everything, which is really not a theory very much, because it's a theory of what happens on very small scales.
Yeah.
So it's kind of irrelevant for the rest of the universe. But it could be that there are new laws or new we just don't know, and we won't know unless we keep exploring.
Right. Just speaking of string theory, and I was just thinking about, there's a lot of scientists or physicists out there that promote this really hard and mainstream. Are there any kook scientists out there that you think ought to not be listened to?
Kook signed.
Yeah, as far
Yeah.
like any like hardcore ones that really spread a lot of misinformation.
Um, well, there are. I wouldn't call them scientists, but there are people who spread misinformation. There are some popularizers of science that I think don't do a great job. But I'm not going to talk about people I don't think do a great. I don't think there's any value in that. I will say people like, say, Deepak Chopra,
Yeah, I was just gonna
who
say Deepak.
I mean
Yeah,
is a doctor who
yeah,
spouts scientific nonsense. Actually, on a one-to-one basis, he's actually a fairly nice guy, and he wants to be appreciated by scientists.
right.
But he's full of woo-woo, and I think, and there are some other people on the borderline. But anyway, here's a clear example of one person who's over the edge.
Yeah. Um, what do you think will be your greatest contribution to humanity when your life is over? Kind of a morbid question.
Yeah, it's a morbid question. I don't know what the heck it's going to be. Who knows? And do I and um, it's not for me to tell.
Right.
I do uh, I I do different things, and I do them because I think they're important or because they're fun. And I've made scientific contributions that that have helped us understand things better than they did before,
Yeah.
and predicted things that I predicted dark energy, and for example. But
Yeah.
maybe my writing may be more important, or maybe some other aspect. I just do what I do, and it's not for me to tell, and not and I it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Sure. I was kind of getting at, I guess, the thing you're maybe most proud of.
Well, I'm usually proud of what I'm doing at any instant,
Yeah.
if or else I'm not. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm often most excited by what I'm doing, because I don't really like to, it is true. I don't like to think back. I don't. I'm more driven by what I will be doing than what I did do. So I don't sort of think back and say, "Oh, that's not." There are things I'm happy with. I like many of the books I've written. I've just written a new book, which I finished last week, and I'm excited about it. Um, but I like to think of what's next more than what I've done. So I think it's more fun to look forward rather than backward.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Here's a question from one of our audience members.
Mhm.
Question for LK. What are your thoughts on Sean Carroll and an infinite universe?
I don't think much about John Carroll, so I don't. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, if he's talking about the fact that the many universes idea of quantum mechanics, which I think Sean has written about recently, that's not new or interesting. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I don't think it's particularly interesting, and I don't quite understand what the point of writing about it was. But it sounds good.
Yeah.
So um, I mean, I will say that the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is probably the best classical interpretation of quantum mechanics. But who cares what the best classical interpretation of quantum mechanics is? Because the world is quantum mechanical. A
Right.
classical interpretation is always going to be some hokey approximation to reality, and it doesn't help us do quantum mechanics any better. So I understand it fascinates some philosophers and other people, but it's fine to write about, but it's not new. It's Alan Everett
Right.
uh, first proposed it in, I forget when, but it probably was the 1940s or 50s. And so anyway,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Another question from Skeptic77, one of our audience members. Can you ask Lawrence if there are any ways to access the multiple dimensions beyond the ones we live in? If there are any.
The answer is we don't know.
Yeah.
We're trying to, because that's what the purpose of experiments is. If extra dimensions existed, we're trying to probe ways to find them. Maybe people have thought of maybe with the highest energy accelerators, banging them together, banging particles together, you might have some disappear into extra dimensions on very small scales. So we haven't seen that. So that's one way you might do that. But I don't think I and gravity. Some people suggest that gravity may probe extra dimensions, so there may be gravitational tests. And those experiments and those ideas, proposals have been interesting, but nothing has come of it. We don't have any. There's not a shred. I repeat, there's not a shred of evidence, empirical evidence, that there are any extra dimensions beyond the ones in which we have already experienced. That
Right.
doesn't mean they're not there. It's just there's no evidence of them. And so maybe we'll come up with ways, at least to indirectly, know that they exist, or we'll have such a compellingly beautiful idea that explains everything we see, and one of the implications of it would be that there are extra dimensions, and we'll accept that even though we can't see them. That's what people thought string theory originally was, such a compelling idea that would explain everything we see, and it also imply things we can't see. But the problem is that string theory hasn't explained anything we can see,
Right.
which is, again, not a, I don't, I'm not making, I don't want to criticize it. It just hasn't been as successful as people claim. Let me put it
Right.
that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's touted like it's an accepted theory almost. When I hear a lot of
Yeah,
physicists
well,
talk about it.
people should, I think scientists should be very careful to distinguish between well-tested theories and hypotheses,
Yeah.
and what we know, and what we know well, and what we don't know, and ideas that are speculative. And I at least try to do that carefully. I think I get sad when people write books about ideas that are so tentative that not even the physics community buys them, but
Yeah.
the public doesn't have a filter. And there are lots of books, and I'm not going to criticize the authors.
Give
I'm
us
not
a
going to get.
list of
I'm
names
not going to. I mean, I'm not going to get into that game.
and their Twitter handles.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a question I had, just a question of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Do you spend much time thinking about the brain,
The brain.
the human
It,
brain?
I every now and then, yeah, and I've been thinking about it. I've been happy. We've done some podcasts recently. They haven't come online yet, but we recorded them with some neuroscientists, and it's fun for me. So I've been reading a lot about it. I certainly, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a neuroscientist. I didn't know it was a neuroscientist. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon because
Right.
my mother wanted me to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And if neuroscience had existed in a back then as it does now, I might have become one. But I discovered that I didn't want to be a doctor. So the brain is fascinating. It's just clear to me and became very clear when I read a bunch of books in preparation for the most recent podcast I recorded with a neuroscientist from NYU, that it's just a very complicated system. It's not easy to isolate cause and effect, and that's what I tell people. That's why I do physics. It's just so much easier.
Yeah.
It
I've heard
is.
I've
It
heard
is.
you say I've heard you say that before at one of
Yeah, but it
our live
is. I mean, I'm
events.
not
Yeah.
being facetious. Uh, it'll take us a long time to understand the brain because it's a very complicated system, and it's hard to isolate it and um, and even define the concepts. Partly because we're studying ourselves when we do that, and that always makes it more difficult.
Yeah. Looking in the mirror, trying to describe what's going on, can
Yeah,
be difficult.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so my observation is people in general have a big problem with uncertainty. This may drive them
Yeah.
to panic ideologically and grasp onto nonsense.
Well, that in my very except for this new 5 minute physics that I just did today, my last one, the one that ended my real series, was about uncertainty and talking about how important it was. Anyway,
Right.
sorry, going.
Yeah, no, I basically my question is, how do you think we best battle that? My proposition is we need to have more people in society that value skepticism.
Of
Um,
course we do. Yeah, I mean, we need not just more people. Everyone should be skeptical. Everyone should at least want evidence for the things that they quote unquote believe, and or base their beliefs on empirical evidence, and don't and look for and try and disprove things they believe as well as try and prove them. I mean, to be skeptical themselves, I think, is the most difficult thing of all.
Here's a question from someone by the name of ANCR from the chat. Says, I want to know everything about the Big Bang and anything he knows about before that. I want to
Well,
know
before that,
everything.
okay, great. Before that is easy. I don't know anything.
Right.
Um, Afterwards, I've written a bunch of books, and I think we don't have enough time to talk about the things I think I know. But you can watch some of the things I prepared, and the 5 minute physics videos at least are not too daunting because they're 5 minutes. Um, they're only well, they're actually more like 10 to 15 minutes, most of them, but
Yeah.
some of them are close to 5.
Someone wants to know if you've ever had a jam session with Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Yeah. What did
What
you?
you mean? You mean a guitar jam session?
I'm sure that's what they mean.
The answer is yes, in the sense that he was trying to teach me how to play the guitar, so that was a jam session of sorts.
Right.
But
Well,
it
that's cool.
motivated me. It motivated me to basically get a guitar which I've been trying to learn how to play. But so
Nice.
so the only thing I've done is he taught me how to strum a certain thing and play it together once in his house. That's all.
Nice. Cool. Question from our moderator in the chat, Keith Connolly says, how important is ability to perceive scale? How does it apply to scientific literacy, and can we exercise this ability like a muscle?
Well, I think like anything, we build up intuition by practicing. And so we humans comprehend scales that are human scales very well, and we have to imagine things that are other scales. I wrote a book called Atom, which I was just looking at actually in preparing for this 5 minute video I just did, and it was a story. It was a history of an individual atom from the beginning of the universe to the end, and uh, and one of the things there I talk about is how to appreciate scales, because large scales like billions and billions and 10 to the 120, they don't mean anything to people. And to try to understand orders of magnitude is a really useful thing to do. And so in one of my books, Fear of Physics, and in that book, I talk you through that. And in the Atom book, I actually try and take little baby steps to get down from a universe of its present size to a smaller universe, because you need those crutches, because it's impossible for anyone to imagine a number like 10 to the 19th. You've got to build up intuition
Right.
by picturing things that you can take one step at a time to get there. So it's like anything else. You just work at it.
Right. What is one of the moments in your career that you'll never forget? One of the most influential moments in your career?
Okay, well, I try not to. Are you there? I
Yep.
seem to have lost you.
Oh,
Hello? Are you
let's see.
there?
Just
You
one
seem to have
second.
disappeared on me.
I'm still hearing you.
Oh,
Let's see.
there you're back.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I think
We
we
lost
just
each.
dipped out
We
for a
just,
second.
yeah, we went into the ether for a second, which is
Interesting.
fine because your question was, I don't, everyone asks me what was the most X or what's the best X or Y. And I just don't think in hierarchical terms like that. I think I tend to not list things as the best. I like lots of things I like.
Hmm.
Um, and and I don't know whether one's better than the other, but there have been moments that have been um, exciting for me. Obviously, when I met Richard Feynman, it was a early on a highlight for me. I met him in actually not far from where you are. I think right now I met him in Vancouver when I was a student the first
Interesting.
time, and I met him numbers of times after that and got. But listening to him was fascinating. I think um, the when in my own career. Uh, I've been very excited a bunch of times, and nature hasn't always been smart enough to adopt the ideas I had. There are a number of times I thought I've had beautiful solutions to problems in science, and they were beautiful in principle, but they just didn't apply to reality. But I think when when dark energy was first demonstrated to exist, I think that was an amazing moment for me because I really didn't believe that this idea that I'd been exploring because it was so crazy and it was so interesting to see that existed. Um, there have been other fun times for me um, when colleagues have won, good friends of mine have won the Nobel Prize or something like that. Uh, when I've been, I think I think when I've been shocked, when nature has surprised me, those are the high points. When the Higgs was discovered, I remember that was a big moment, not because it was so important for physics, but because I was damn sure it didn't exist.
Right.
And so I love being having my own a priori prejudices proved wrong. I guess that's for me exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of science, right? A lot of people don't
Well,
realize that it's like you're out to find what could be wrong with your thinking and wrong with your hypothesis.
you should be, and it's
Yeah.
fun. But it's not that you're out to always prove yourself wrong. It's just it's fun to find your prejudice was wrong because it means there's something to learn.
Hmm.
It means that's what it means there's something new to learn, and that's if you're alive, you should always be looking for the new things to learn about the world.
Yeah. So you got to spend a fair amount of time with Stephen Hawking. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean a fair amount of time, but yeah, I was with him in
Some.
various places around the world for probably the last 30 some odd years of his life.
Right. What were some things about how his mind worked that made him unique, do you think?
Well, the thing that made him most unique was he was the most stubborn person I've ever met in my life, most
Right.
pig-headed, stubborn person. And say that in a good way,
Yeah.
although it could be very frustrating at times, because that's why he stayed alive for so long and worked. I mean, his life every single day was most people would they give up. I mean, the struggle from the minute he woke, the minute he went to bed, and he was just so damn stubborn that he wouldn't let it get in the way. So I think that aspect of his of his of his I wasn't going to say self-centered, but in a good way of his focused effort to just do the things he wanted to do and think of the things he wanted to do was remarkable. The other thing, of course, is an ability to keep working in the midst of all of that,
Yeah.
and an ability to to be able to do reasonable mathematical things well after he was able to put pen to paper. Of course, he had assistants and colleagues who would help out,
Right.
but I think the fact that he was driven um, to keep asking interesting questions. And the fact that it's just as a human being, he had to overcome more than any of the rest of us did every day just to go to work.
Yeah. Do you think his physical uh, impediments assisted him in his scholarly work?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? A lot of people have written about that. I have no idea. I mean, I think maybe it added urgency to his work early on because he didn't think he'd live,
Hmm.
and that maybe helped. That kind of urgency that every day was precious. That's important.
Yeah.
That probably helped. I'm sure other aspects didn't help. I mean, the only thing I used to tell people, but it sounds well, it doesn't sound nice, but is that when is that I used to be with Stephen at dinner with a bunch of people, and most people were too uncomfortable to talk to Stephen because it took so long. But the nice thing was the Stephen will always have his screen there, so in a polite way he could be reading a physics paper while at dinner with other people.
So
So
he did
that was,
have an advantage.
well, that was one anyway. But yeah.
Okay, I'll throw this last question at you, and I
Hmm.
know you have dinner to eat. Um, is everything we do, because of the reality is that we're all bound to the laws of physics, is everything we do predetermined in your estimation?
What do you mean predetermined? I think the world is deterministic, but but it's so complicated that for all effects, all intents and purposes, it's indistinguishable from a world in which there isn't,
Right.
free will. So, in some sense, because the laws of physics, including quantum mechanics, are deterministic laws, then things happen. But chaos produces, complex systems can have chaotic behavior, which is completely unpredictable in a practical sense.
Right.
So even if everything in some ways is predetermined, it's not. There's no way in it that operationally that has any significance whatsoever. The world acts like it isn't, and
Right.
we live in the world in which we live, and so um, I don't think we should act as if we should take responsibility for our actions and and um, and try and do the best we can. So,
Right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today, Lawrence.
sure.
I
It was a fun discussion. It was
Yeah,
different than a lot, and I hope
cool.
all two or three people that are listening enjoyed it or whatever. Anyway,
Well, I
I
think
don't
we
know how
have,
many are.
yeah, 75 in the room, but our videos get up into the
Yeah,
thousands.
yeah,
So
yeah, no, that's
yeah,
fine. 75
yeah,
in the room at any one time on
yeah,
a
yeah.
Wednesday night is fine. No,
Right on.
anyway, I hope people enjoyed it. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
All
Anyway,
right.
thanks
Thanks a
again,
lot.
Travis.
Yeah,
We'll talk to you again.
we'll talk soon.
Take care. Stay safe and wash your hands.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Lawrence. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. We did it. What did you guys think of the conversation? I know you guys were getting a little bit of echo. I wanted to take time to fix it, but I know we were under a bit of a time constraint there. Uh, okay, I gotta turn this off. Window capture off. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I wanted to hit Larry with some things that would maybe shake him up a little bit, that he's not used to hearing the questions asked in that certain way. And I hope that came through. And I got some of your guys' questions in, which I really wanted to make sure. Cosmic Slice says, amazing stream. Thanks to Lawrence and Travis for the discussion and all the mods. Yeah, thank you guys for moderating. I'll stay on a little bit if you guys want to have some more conversation. If you have any questions for me. Um, Andrew T, I'm sorry. I couldn't get to the rap battle question. Although we could have clipped it and like promoted the channel with it. But that's not what we do. We don't do things in our conversations for that. I thought that was really interesting. The visualizing physics questions are important to me because I got to reopen this window here because I think human beings understand these things really well when we throw art into these problems as well. Like having like Lawrence was saying, uh, basically the operation of a proton particle, I think it was, or something like that, it being animated. Um, I like having an idea of what things look like, of as an observer, how something would operate in the physical realm if I was actually able to observe it with my own biological system, as opposed to through a some kind of machine, right? Or through a computer. That stuff fascinates me. I like. I mean, I love learning about this stuff. It's freaky and intense, and it 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 feels like the stakes are so high. And I know to a lot of people, they look at this kind of stuff and they're like, "What does that matter to us?" But for me, I get choked up in my throat and my chest when I'm thinking about these concepts, and I just always want to learn more, and that's why things like Lawrence's new five minute physics videos. I've again at the top of this chat, I give you guys a link, but if you just Google it, uh, you're going to find Lawrence's new channel, and please subscribe to it. Support Lawrence. Lawrence is not only an excellent science communicator, but he is a very kind generous person to work with in my experiences with Lawrence. Um, and yeah, he's just a really nice, beautiful person. And again, that's based on my experiences with him. But please do support his work. We need more of Lawrence Krauss in this world, for sure. We need more of his work, and I'm so excited to know that he's finished a new book, which is going to be awesome. I'll be getting the audiobook for that for sure. My book is coming along. Whoever is going to be interested in that, I don't know, but I'm writing it anyway, and I hope to at least ruffle some feathers. um, but yeah, what else we got here? Naturalism and Philosophy Ted says, "Does anyone know how things orbiting black holes works? I don't get it. Shouldn't they just sucked right in?" Well, black holes stretch. It's more about stretching time, space, matter, energy, stretching everything, right? So, but I would just YouTube what Lawrence has to say about black holes, how they function. Same with uh, Sean Carroll has some good stuff too. It sounds like Lawrence might not think much of Sean Carroll, but do do get on YouTube and watch as much content as you can about black holes and Neil deGrasse Tyson and oh my God, Brian Greene. But I'm forgetting my one of my favorites, Brian. Oh, Brian Cox. Brian Cox, amazing science communicator. Listen to Brian Cox talk about black holes. Uh, and I hope, again, all of you guys listening, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing more live podcasts with intellectuals from around the world here, and do send in your requests to who I should have on. I'm open to having conversations with essentially anyone about anything. I'm not a cancel cultist, cancel culturist. If someone's been canceled by some other group, not allowed to speak or something like that, I invite anyone to speak. Um, I think cancel culture is an evil of this society. Which spawns from the evils of social justice. I believe justice is justice is justice. There's just one justice. And sure, go out and demonstrate and have your peaceful protests about fighting for justice, but don't create a sub justice called social justice where you use other means to try and destroy somebody. I think that's evil. It's that has nothing to do with actual justice. Keith Connolly says, I imagine a black hole's gravitational pull isn't infinite, so it could achieve orbit if it's an adequate distance at an adequate speed. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Honestly, I don't have enough knowledge in that aspect of black holes to speak on that, but now it just makes me want to go and like learn it, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing of having conversations like this. They're so inspiring to it kind of reminds us why it feels good to learn what is where the scientific method came from in uh, human evolution. Obviously, there was practical reasons for it, but there has to be a driving force to want to work towards practicality. And that's what I'm working on in my book. The drive, the pleasure drive is what I call it. Um, and yeah. And, oh, by the way, Brian Cox is spelled Cox, not Cox as in nice Cox, not CK. Um, oh, yeah. By the way, people keep mentioning Jesse Lee Peterson. Uh, if you guys want to have a good laugh, go to the Jesse Lee Peterson show and actually comment and say, have a conversation with Travis Pangburn, have a conversation. But I'll send them a note too because I think it would be brilliant to have him on. Um, uh, Mikhail Churlov says, would be cool if you invite Sam Harris for the podcast. Yeah, I would have a conversation with Sam, of course. Mithro Patula is saying, uh, update on Dave Schroeder. Oh, this is someone from Twitter. But yeah, I would have a conversation about with Sam. I would love to talk to him about neuroscience, other things, maybe business ethics. We could have a conversation about business ethics. Uh, that would be fun. Um, but yeah, honestly, guys, happy to have conversations with anyone out there. I really enjoyed that chat with Lawrence. I'm gonna have fun digesting that. If I do take certain clips out of that conversation we just had, I think we will. I think we'll make clips out of it. Um, uh, I will. If my audio is really fucked, like really echoey, I will just redub my audio just to make it more listenable. Andrew T says, I also know Vegan Gains. If you ever would have him, I will have Vegan Gains on. Andrew T, if you want to set that up, send me an email, man. Anyone who has a connection to anyone else that they think would be an interesting um, conversation, I would be happy to just have a conversation with them. So email info@pang-burn.com. Uh, who's trolling? Someone said someone's trolling. Are they talking about this this guy from Twitter, Mithro Patula? Let him troll. Yeah, I'll listen to it. But as long as Larry was coming through clear, that's what I'm most happy about. But I'll figure that out for next time. Why? You know what I think it was is because my audio was feeding to Larry through what the hell's going on out there? Through Google Hangouts, and I was also streaming my audio through OBS. I think that's what it was. Uh, yeah, Cosmic Slice says, I can totally reach out to Stephen or Stefan at Rationality Rules if you want. That would be awesome. I would really appreciate that, Cosmic Slice. Cosmic Slice all the way. Uh, Mikhaili Chiriloff says, thanks for what you're doing, Travis. Great content. You bet. Love having you guys around. I think I'm going to call the show there. This was great. We got this done in, how long have I been on? 2 hours and 23 minutes? Hasn't felt that long at all. But thank you guys so much. A. Owen says, not sure he likes being called Larry. You know what? He probably forgot one time, but we were staying in. Um, do you guys know where Home Alone 2? So Home Alone 2, the movie with Macaulay Culkin, was filmed in New York City, and he stays at the Plaza Hotel. So when I did the event with uh, Lawrence, Sam, and Matt Dillahunty in New York City, Lawrence and I stayed at the Plaza, and we had a few drinks one night, and I remember him saying like, "I hate it when people call me Larry, but my friends can call me Larry. That means you can call me Larry." And I was like, "Cool." Uh, but yeah, maybe he doesn't like being called it anymore. That's okay. I'm fine with anyone calling me anything. Uh, Amy G says, "What are your views about Bumble?" Bumble. It's a great place to meet wonderful people. Um, cool. Well, that's it for me for today. You guys have heard enough of from my ugly mug. 2 hours, 24 minutes. We did it. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. Thank you for the awesome questions you guys came up with. Thank you for being so patient with some of the technical things. Uh, we'll be back again soon with more live streaming. Again, remember to subscribe. If you want to support the channel even further, you can go to patreon.com/Pangburn and become a patron. Would really appreciate it if you guys can throw a couple bucks per month our way. It really helps. So patreon.com/Pangburn. And share our content, guys. Again, this is a channel that's open to having good faith conversations about anything. No topics are off base. Again, one of the slogans for the channel is being a crybaby does not add strength to your argument. It doesn't make your argument stronger. So this isn't really a place for people who are offended and they think that their offense should add to the war of ideas, because it doesn't. The war of ideas looks at offense like we can't even, you're kind of in a realm that can't even touch what's going on here. So, um, but thank you guys again, and thanks again to Andrew T. and Keith Connolly, our moderators here at the Pangburn live stream. Thank you guys so much. And as always, let art and science inspire, baby.